Listen up, because what you're about to hear about Tyler Perry's new thriller Straw will flip everything you thought you knew on its head. You might think you've seen the story unfold already, but trust me, there are hidden details, insane behind-the-scenes secrets, and character layers so deep they'll rewrite your entire take on this film. And when I say number 8 and number 10 will blow your mind, I mean you will drop your jaw. Picture this, a single mom, a frantic hostage standoff, the clock ticking. And then the shocker twist that nobody saw coming. That ending? Unreal. But the real magic didn't happen on camera. It was in how it was made, what was left unsaid, and the raw emotion behind every scene. And spoiler alert, some of the wildest moments didn't even make the final cut. We're diving into 10 wild facts that no one's talking about. You'll discover how Tyler packed mountains of emotion into just a few intense days of filming. You'll learn which actors came back from adversity just to deliver performances that haunt your dreams. You'll unravel the hidden messages wrapped in character dynamics, and you'll see how social media itself became a character during the live standoff sequence. Each fact cuts deeper, peeling back layers to reveal the psychology, the production madness, and the personal triumphs behind the screen. And yes, number 8 and number 10 are the jaw-dropping revelations you're scrolling for right now. These aren't just fun trivia. They reshape the meaning of the movie itself. So stay with me all the way through. You won't want to miss a single one. Hit that like button now if you're ready. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's jump into fact number 1, because this ride starts right now. Fact number 1, 4 days of pure emotion. Behind every tear, scream, and gasp in Straw lies a truth. The entire storyline was shot in just 4 days. Yes, Taraji P. Henson playing Janiyah filmed all her key emotional moments under Tyler Perry's relentless schedule. 4 days to build heartbreak, hope, rage, and desperation. That's faster than some series films take for one episode. And yet, somehow, the emotion never felt rushed. In fact, the opposite happened. That compressed shooting window forced raw, instinct-driven acting. There was no luxury for comfort or repeated takes. Taraji had to live Janiyah's pain in every possible scene. No whiteboard notes, no comfort zone. Tyler wanted authenticity over polish, fear over flawless. Think about the intensity, the CPS confrontation, the bank entry, the death news hitting her. Each sequence was filmed in back-to-back blocks. No cool-down time. Crew members said Taraji stayed in character, even during bathroom breaks. Her voice cracked, her eyes hit with real tears, because she never got a second away from Janiyah's reality. That's why your heart races during every line. It's not acting. That's lived trauma. This tight schedule also meant costumes, lighting, props. Everything had to flow like a river. One misstep and the whole tower collapsed. Yet they pulled it off. They captured moments so visceral you feel the tension. So when you watched Straw and your chest ached, that wasn't cinematic shock. It was 220 hours of emotion squeezed into 4 days. And that relentless pace. It set the tone for the rest of the film's raw, unwavering pulse. Fact number 2. Grief as a hallucination. What if everything you saw was a trick of the mind? Straw isn't just a hostage thriller. It's a mental collapse masquerading as real-time action. From the moment Janiyah hears about her daughter Arya's condition, the film starts pulling you into her mind. Scenes blur between memory and present. The line between real and imagined crumbles, and then it shatters. Right before the standoff, Arya is hospitalized. But here's the shocking part. We never actually see Arya again. Instead, we see Janiyah reacting, panicking, raging, negotiating. But what if it was all internal projection? Every interaction, every panic-induced gun yelled, every pleading exchange, potentially imagined by a mother too broken to face grief. By the time you realize Arya never physically stumbles in, it hits like lightning. The entire crisis was in her mind. Think about the cinematography, when Janaya's breathing syncs with heavy cut-ins of hospital monitors, or how the bank becomes empty and echoing, as though the world itself has pulled back. These aren't stylistic choices. They're psychedelic signposts telling you, this is internal. There's no hostage crowd, no camera crew beyond the Teller-inspired livestream. It's only Janaya, locked inside her trauma. That shift rewrites every scene. Suddenly, her exchanges with the detective, the tellers, even Sinbad's character aren't about saving hostages. They're broken conversations played out in her mindscape as she desperately tries to stay sane. Revealing it as a hallucination does more than twist the plot. It makes Straw portrait of psychological fracture. And once you know that truth, it transforms how haunting this film truly is. Fact number 3. That bomb was a science fair dream. Eyebrows raised when a blinking backpack is whisked in, looking like a bomb countdown. Drama peaks, pulses race. You expect that moment to ignite chaos, disaster, even martyrdom. But once the reveal hits, you're floored. It wasn't a bomb. It was Arya's science fair creation, a harmless demonstration of timed LEDs with a loudspeaker alarm. But in Janaya's overloaded grief brain, it morphs into a weapon of terror. This prop is cinematic gold. It speaks volumes about perception under pressure and how panic distorts meaning. Janaya sees a bomb. Everyone else sees a curious blinking box. That mismatch heightens the tension. Innocent bystanders think she's pleading with terrorists, while she's fighting internal demons, conflating sorrow with sabotage. Tyler used this device cleverly to critique media sensationalism and judgment from afar. When cameras focus on the blinking bag, you see viewers immediately cast it as a bomb, sick with fear. But when the reveal arrives, it's like pulling the rug out of collective paranoia. It forces us, the audience, to ask, are we as guilty of seeing threats when we should be seeing pain? That little science experiment becomes the film's beating heart, a symbol of how mental anguish can warp reality into crisis. Far from a cheap gag, it's a thoughtful metaphor. It flips expectations, turns a thriller into a lesson on humanity, and anchors the film's bleak compassion in one blinking backpack. Fact number 4. Sinbad's comeback from stroke. When you caught Sinbad in Straw, you might have thought it was just a cameo. But for him, and for the movie, it was a comeback performance of epic gravity. Let me remind you, this is his first major screen role since suffering a stroke 5 years ago. The man who once filled stages with booming laughter is now silent, focused, delivering emotion without words. He plays Benny, the security guard turned confidant. He has fewer lines than the leads, but every glance, every breath adds emotional rouse to the story's tapestry. His stature has changed. That glow of resilience replaces the showmanship. When he leans close to Janaya and just says, "I got you," his cracked voice and steady eyes speak volumes. It's a moment that sticks with your heart, long after the credits roll. He returned not just to perform, but to rebuild his professional identity. His physical therapy included gesture control to rebuild facial nuance and voice modulation exercises to restore tonal range. On set, Tyler and Taraji leaned into that vulnerability. They let him go slow. And it shows. There's an intimacy to that scene incomparable to any quick cameo. It felt earned. Sinbad's journey mirrors Jania's. Both lost parts of their lives, one to illness, the other to trauma, and both fought to find footing again. That's why his cameo isn't a distraction. It amplifies the themes. And when the credits roll, you don't just remember Straw. You remember Sinbad's courage. It's a real-life plot twist that gives the film an extra layer of emotional triumph. Fact number 5. A trio of black women dominates at the core of Straw is not just a single character. It's a dynamic triangle of black women, each defining motherly strength, institutional power, and law enforcement grit. Taraji's Jania leads the emotional charge. Then you have Sherry Shepherd as Nicole, the bank manager, torn between protocol and empathy. And lastly, Tiana Taylor's Detective Raymond, stoic yet torn between duty and human instinct. These relationships are electric. Nicole walks in and realizes she's protecting terrified staff and crying children with no time to second guess. She's not a villain. She's a human punching above her pay grade. And then Detective Raymond, a woman of authority, wrestles with preserving life versus handing down judgment, all while trapped in a system that expects her to value procedure over people. That pressure cooker makes her scenes unforgettable. The three never share the same physical space, but their arcs overlap. You see it in the soft sighs, in the eye shifts, in the phone conversations. Stylistically, Perry cues them with intertwined musical threads, subtle score whispers that unite their momentary ripples into a cohesive emotional storm. It's silent solidarity. By centering the narrative on black maternal wisdom, institutional struggle, and policing in suspense, the film does something rare. It humanizes every side of a hostage crisis. These three women aren't tropes, they're flesh and blood anchors. That gives Straw emotional texture beyond adrenaline. It gives it emotional truth. Fact number 6. Critics hated it. Audiences loved it. Here's a wild Medea twist. Critics delivered mixed to harsh reviews, calling Straw melodramatic, overly emotional, and contrived. But audiences? They ate it up. Reaction videos exploded. Social media buzz shot themes to trends. Emotional vulnerability. Fans called it a gut punch of realness. That chasm between critics and the public isn't just rare. It tells you something powerful is happening here. This polarity fuels deeper conversation. Critics focused on narrative cohesion, why some scenes felt rushed or tonal shifts were abrupt. But viewers defended the movie's emotional centerpiece, not cinematic perfection. They said, "We don't need flawless craft. We need movies that feel. We need catharsis." That's cultural relevance versus artistic critique. Straw tapped an audience thirsting for representation, a black mother's breakdown in real time, not hidden behind tropes. And they responded. Social threads lit up with viewers sharing similar pain, praising the lead's authenticity, saying things like, "That scene where she screams after getting bad news. I felt it in my soul." This gap reveals the film as a social phenomenon, not just a thriller. It's about how raw emotion can build a fortress against cynicism. Shadows shaped, fans swarmed, critics frowned, and Straw rode that tension all the way into Netflix charts. Fact number 7. Tyler's all in creative control. In Straw, Tyler Perry didn't just pull the strings. He built the entire puppet show. He wrote, directed, produced, and co-starred. This degree of creative control doesn't just speak to ambition. It shapes every second of the film's emotional DNA. He's known for tackling heavy themes, grief, faith, societal blind spots, and here he escalates everything. The 4-day shoot? That was his call. He timed emotional intensity and real-time pacing to mimic how trauma throttles your day, collapsing hours into seconds. He also rehearsed scenes in improvised entryways, corridors, bathrooms, even hallways, mirroring Jania's fractured mental state. That improvisational setting gave every line a jagged edge. Tyler's editing style amplifies disorientation. It's not clean, it's jittery, raw, fragmented, by design. This hands-on approach shows Straw isn't a studio thriller. It's an emotional docudrama wrapped in a cinematic cloak. It pulses like Tyler's heartbeat, And whether or not you love his style, you feel it. That's the power of creative ownership. It turns a thriller into a psychological live documentary. Fact number 8. Social media became a character. You thought the standoff was intense. Try watching it stream live from inside the bank. Someone, an unnamed teller, started broadcasting on Instagram Live. That leaked footage went viral before the studio even released a trailer. It ignited public discourse, turning Straw from a pre-release rumor to a national conversation in hours. Everyone joined. Commentators, grief groups, fearful supporters. Viewers watched Janiyah plead, watched guards stand by, watched law enforcement inch forward. Reckoning opinions flew, some in support, some calling for tougher negotiation, some asking where mental health services were for this mother. This digital ripple didn't just hype the film, it became part of its DNA. The movie reflects that live chaos. You can see camera phones in extras' hands, hear the echo from outside through the phone speakers. That meta layer blurs fiction and reality. You're not just watching a movie, you're watching an event unfold. By making social media complicit in the crisis, Straw compresses narrative scope and amplifies impact. Live broadcasts turned Janiyah into a symbol, critics into fans, and casual viewers into participants. It rewrote how thrillers interact with modern audiences. And yes, that's why fact number 8 really does shock. You weren't just watching, you were being watched too. Fact number 9, Black maternal trauma at the core. Plenty of films show a mother scared for her child. Straw goes further. It plumbs the depths of Black maternal trauma under systemic strain. Janiyah isn't just poor. She faces eviction, CPS involvement, a hospital bill, and a crying infant. And none of that stops the system from treating her like a threat. Her breakdown is rooted in survival failure, not criminal intent. Every flash of panic, every downcast look, they're responses to abandonment by institutions. Bank staff avoid looking. Cops are ready to shoot. Even Arya's science project is treated as suspicious. One late-night scene. Janiyah sits alone in an empty living room. Empty baby bottle wrinkled, curtains drawn, heartbeat echoing. That scene is raw heartbreak laid bare. She literally chants, "I just want my baby." And from there, the movie charts the steep descent into emergency. It's not mastery, it's desperation. These themes resonate. Black mothers in real life share the same systems of judgment, hidden neglect, and moment-to-moment survival. Straw isn't thriller candy, it's living testimony. And the film invites empathy, not pity. That shifts the emotional stakes beyond screen scares. It becomes a social call. What happens when motherhood becomes a battlefield? Fact number 10. A psychological crime. Portrait, not a thriller. Thought Straw was all about adrenaline and hostage velocity. It's not. It's a psychological crime drama disguised as a thriller. Every high-octane moment is actually a brushstroke in a portrait of a shattered psyche. What matters isn't who wins or dies. It's what happens inside a woman pushed beyond her limits. Take the final exposure scene. Switch from bank cameras to close-ups of Janiyah's breathing, jittering hands, tears, eye reflections. It's medical introspection. Law enforcement moves in not because they'll stop a killer, but because they're trying to save a soul in freefall. That's what makes the twist so profound. It's not about arrests, it's about rescue from grief. The film doesn't wrap in neat bows. Janiyah doesn't walk out triumphant. She walks out changed, haunted, head held, but soul frayed. That's intentional. Tyler wants us to leave with questions. Did justice happen? Did Janiyah survive herself? And most importantly, will we, the audience, understand what she carried? That depth turns Straw from popcorn thrill to emotional excavation. You leave the theater not because you're entertained, but because your mind and your heart were challenged. That's artistry disguised as chaos. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Wow. We just peeled back 10 intense layers of Straw, and if you thought it was just a tense hostage scenario, think again. This film is a collision of grief, mental breakdown, societal failure, and emotional endurance. That compressed 4-day shoot produced raw authenticity. The hallucination twist warps every scene. A blinking backpack forced us to question perception. Sinbad's return reminded us of healing. 3 black women grounded the narrative in strength. Critics balked, but audiences soared, hungry for real emotion. Tyler's creative command threaded chaos into cohesion. Social media blurred reality and fiction. Maternal trauma cut deeper than bullets. And above all, this isn't a thriller. It's a psychological portrait of a broken system crashing into a broken heart. So what now? Tell me, which fact surprised you the most? Was it the busted bomb reveal? Or that live-streamed intensity that made it feel like you were there? Or maybe the core truth. This is a psychological battle, not just action. Let's dive into that below. I want to hear your reactions because Straw is more than a movie. It's a conversation starter, and we've only scratched the surface. If this breakdown hit home, don't just like and subscribe. Activate notifications so you never miss these deep dives. Also, share this video with someone who needs to see why this movie matters. Let's spread the conversation, because films like this aren't just watched, they're felt. Thanks for sticking through to the end. Be sure to follow for more reaction rundowns, movie secrets, and emotional breakdowns that go deeper than trailers. Until next time, stay intense, stay connected, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.